This is how Elemental Coffee Roasters makes coffee through a Chemex. I'm Paul with Elemental Coffee, and today we're going to be talking about how to make coffee in a Chemex brewer. What you'll need is a scale and a timer, or both in one, a Chemex, filters for a Chemex, and coffee beans. Today we're using 52 grams of coffee to 700 grams of water, and that's going to give us 20 ounces of coffee, so 2 mugs of coffee basically. We're going to start by taking our filter, and Chemex filters are actually circles that are folded into quadrants. We're going to open that up so that 3 layers are on one side and 1 layer is on the other. And we're going to put the 3 layers towards the front, or the spout, or the channel of the Chemex. We do that so that when we're brewing it, there's less of a chance of that collapsing in and making a seal. After we've got the filter in there, we can actually take a kettle of hot water just below boiling, and we're going to rinse out the filter. We rinse it to make sure that A, our coffee doesn't taste papery, and B, that the temperature while we're brewing it is more consistent. So we just put some water through there, and we'll pour that out. At this point, we're ready to add our coffee, and we're going to put 52 grams of coffee in here, ground medium coarse, about 16 to 19 on a Baratza style grinder will get you kind of in the right ballpark. We want the time in between the time we grind it and the time we brew it to be as short as possible. So we want the freshest ground coffee we can get. So we've got 52 grams of ground coffee. And start the timer. And we're going to add 100 grams of water. And we're going to do that in circles to make sure that all the grounds are getting wet. These kind of concentric circles, I want to stay away from the pouring straight on the filter to avoid it tasting papery. Once we've got 100 grams of water in there, we're going to let it bloom. So this process called blooming is where the coffee's being saturated and actually growing. And we can see it occurring as like little bubbles are coming up and the actual space is expanding. And we're going to let it be here for 1 minute and 30 seconds until the bloom is finished. After 1 minute and 30 seconds, we're going to add more water. The total amount of water that we're going to add is going to be 700 grams. So we've already added 100, so we've still got 600 grams to add. I'm going to do that starting by doing the same thing that we did in the beginning, kind of concentric circles to make sure all the grounds on the top get saturated. And then once all those grounds are wet, we're actually just going to move the kettle to the center, and we're going to do what's called a center pour the rest of the way to 700 grams. At the point where the stream from my kettle is reaching the water, I want it to be constant so that it's not agitating the coffee and over-extracting or over-brewing the coffee in the chamber. Once you've reached 700 grams of water, you can actually just stop pouring and wait for what's called the drawdown, the process where the brewing coffee goes into the decanter area. At the end of the drawdown, what we should have is a sort of cone of our ground coffee on the edges of this filter. After 4.5 minutes, you can go ahead and remove the filter. And at this point, you've got 20 ounces or 2 mugs of coffee that are ready to serve. And that's Chemex coffee.